Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next perfect step, where all possibilities lie in conversation. I'm your co host, Lori Mullen.
I'm your co-host, Stay.
And I'm your co-host, Lori Tremblay. We welcome you all to our broadcast tonight, and we have a special guest, Scott Dineen, who is an author and musician. We have our mutual friend, Caroline, who is an artist that we've had on our show twice before. So we're excited to get to know Scott and his story. And so, Scott, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
You're so welcome. Yeah. And we'd love to hear a little bit more about you. So please share whatever you're comfortable with.
Well, that's very flattering to have me on. I guess I could start talking a little bit about my music career. As a young kid, I studied music and I won a national songwriting contest at the age of 10. And so I had a brief period, maybe 18 months of minor celebrity, where I appeared on Voice of America and all the television shows in the area. And it was great. I would go on, I would play the song that I won with. And then that was all over. That was 18 months. I was 12, no more music, no more celebrity. I continued studying the guitar, but I transitioned to circus arts, juggling, unicycling. And at a very young age, 15, I went off and performed with several professional circuses. I didn't leave school. My parents were cool about it. It would be a week here, 2 weeks there. But a lot of that material from my youth with the circus ended up helping me write the book that you're aware of, Circus Orpheus. And it's something that I was able to teach my son, who's now in college. And we sometimes still perform a father and son juggling act together. But back to the music, and maybe you'll have questions about it. In my late 30s, I switched to classical guitar, and I was pretty serious about studying and playing. I'd studied as a kid, but I ended up playing weddings and at cafes and things like that. And then I got involved playing what's called gypsy jazz. This is jazz music that's usually a quartet it's very fast. It's the old standards. I did that for about 5 years. I founded a group called Swingology. We played all over the place. It was great until I got a call to join a Bob Dylan tribute band. Not only a Bob Dylan tribute band, but the premier Bob Dylan tribute band in the country. And so that was a great opportunity. That's my main focus now in music. And we tour quite a bit. We're going down to Naples, Florida in a few weeks, getting ready for that. So yeah, I'm the lead singer. Had to memorize all those long, rambling Bob Dylan songs. And the band is terrific. The band is absolutely phenomenal. So it's a real joy to play with them. And we practice and perform pretty often now. It's a big part of my life.
Yeah, so we saw a video that you sent us. It was a great the band looks you have a lot of musicians, right? In the
Yeah, there are
band.
5 of us most of the time. Yeah.
Yeah. That's fantastic. So do you have any is Bob Dylan is aware of your band, right? Do you have any chance to
not
meet
only
him?
Bob Dylan is aware, but maybe you're aware there was a big Hollywood movie that came out this year.
Yes.
A Complete Unknown, starring Timothy Chalamet. And I was actually did several interviews for my perspective on the movie. I did one for 2020 that never aired, but we did the interview. And then I did another one for GQ UK, which did air. You can find that online. And I was just giving my perceptions of how the young Timothy Chalamet portrayed Bob Dylan, how he held his guitar, how he sung. And I heard from a credible source that young Timothy had read the article, and so there's a chance I might get in touch with him. If I do, I'll say, why don't you make me part of the part 2 of the movie? I can play the older Bob Dylan, when they portray his later life. Yeah.
Are you playing around here anytime?
Caroline, my artist friend, our artist friend, she's keeps trying to get me to come up and perform there, and her fiance too, Joe, was trying to get me to come up in and around a family wedding and maybe their wedding that's coming up. But John Davidson, the famous John Davidson, I know
Yes.
lives in the area and has a club in Sandwich. He's
Yes.
aware of me, and I think I have an invitation to perform at John Davidson's club. So I'll certainly let you know that if the band or just me as a solo ends up. Do you remember John from your youth on that? That's Incredible and his other talk shows. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
he has
club.
club.
Right.
Yeah, Club Sandwich, right.
Club Sandwich. Yeah, in Sandwich, New
In
Hampshire.
Sandwich, New Hampshire.
Yeah. So that's cool. He looks great. He sounds great. I know he's like 83 or 84 now, but it's inspiring to see him, still kicking it. Yeah.
Yeah, his club, he has big comfy chairs and like popcorn, and you can come in and just, it's a great venue that he has up there.
Yeah, I've seen videos. I'd love to come up
Yeah.
there, even just to see his show. Yeah, not
Mhm.
be the center of attention all the time for being on stage. But I'm really addicted to being on stage, and like a lot of performers in real life, I'm pretty uneasy. I wouldn't say nervous or not confident, just like not comfortable in my own skin. But as soon as I get on stage, all of that melts away. I connect with the audience and their energy. And it's not really an ego thing. It's more like channeling. And I know, Lori T, I know you talk about channeling, but I'm definitely feeling something that's beyond me for sure when I'm singing those songs and connecting with the audience. It's really very fulfilling, more than, again, just being the center of attention on stage. It's really channeling forces that are precious and certainly beyond me. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
I think music can do that too. When you go to concerts or in your group of people and there's music playing, there is a connection. Music makes you feel, whether it's sad or happy or anything, and it connects everybody in that energy together.
Yeah, and there's nothing like live performance. I mean, you can go on Spotify, you can go on YouTube, but it as you all know, it's just not the same, live. And there are fewer and fewer venues. People don't go out the way they used to. There are just so many things to do and stay at home, especially younger people. So our band is actually lucky that we still are able to find venues and perform. But yeah, it's getting harder and harder.
So do you perform in the DC area? Is that correct, Scott?
Yeah, mainly in and around the DC area. I mean, we go, as you heard, as far south as Naples, Florida, which is pretty far down. And
Mhm.
we play New York. Sometimes we're in Long Island for a big festival. Gosh, it's been about a year ago, but that was a wonderful experience out on Long Island. So that's about as far as I've traveled with the band. We'd love to go to Europe, and I'm working on that. Dylan's
That'd be
very
excellent.
big in France in particular. Yeah.
Speaking of France, I know from talking with you that you have a big affinity to Paris, right?
Yes, it was my project over the pandemic, as soon as the pandemic started, to really try to master French. That's how I met Caroline, because she has a
Mhm.
language school. I ended up going to Paris about 11 times since the start of the pandemic. And people are like, what are you? You independently wealthy? And I tell people, it's actually cheaper to fly to Paris and stay in those hotels and eat in those restaurants than it would be in my area to go to Virginia Beach or Ocean City, where you're going to pay $500 or $600 a night in season. Food is terrible. And you end up, it's much more affordable actually to go to certain European countries where the food is much cheaper. You can get usually good flights. So yeah, I love it. I'm going to keep going to Paris. Um, my writing successes also have been tied to Paris. I made some real breakthroughs attending some writing workshops, and that's where I met my agent, Wendy Rome, who's a very well-known and fantastic agent. I'm really lucky to be working with her. It's hard to get an agent, a good literary agent. But I met her in Paris and we became friends, and I see her regularly, both online and when I go to Paris. And So yeah, that's a big part of my life for sure.
That's great. And so talking of your book, can you tell us what motivated you to go from music to writing a book, and tell us a little bit about your new book?
Oh yeah. Well, I should first say that I know some of you have read it. It's finished, but I'm reworking a lot of it at the request of my editor. It needs a stronger through line for the circus portion. I'll talk a little bit about it, but I guess I'm getting to the point that my agent wanted it to be a clear Faustian story where the main character, Finn, who's a young musician who leaves his old life, with his abusive girlfriend and his overbearing band leader in the 1990s, and is lured away to the mysterious world of the circus by this mysterious man. And so I'm rewriting the book so the mysterious man is more of a middleman for Mephistopheles. And so that Finn, the young guitarist, is making a pretty clear bargain with a lot more at stake than in the draft you may have looked at. What led me to writing? I've always had an affinity for it. I did a master's degree in rhetoric, which involves a lot of writing and teaching people how to write essays and that kind of thing. But it started as another pandemic project and something Caroline and I started talking about during our French lessons. Like we were really egging each other on to do a lot of new things, and spending serious time writing a book came out of that. And I spent 5 years on it, serious time, and I'm still working on it. It takes 2 to 10 years to write a good literary novel. That's what Wendy tells me, maybe just to cheer me up because this process never seems to end. But I do love it. It's similar to the music performing in that, you're really channeling forces much greater than yourself and memory and, trying to convey resolutions that happen in life. And sometimes it gets dirty and ugly. Lori, you told me that, when you read the draft, the first third of it was kind of surprising because there's a lot of rough language and there's discussion of things like pornography, and hopefully I didn't overdo it. But then you said too, the character had to have something to push him out of his world into the circus. And that's absolutely right. I depict him as miserable. And he's also lost his sister, and he's confessing the book to a dead friend named Brandon, the narrator. And throughout the whole book, what's driving him to tell the story is his confession to Brandon, who committed suicide. And Finn, the main character, throughout the whole book is trying to come to terms with that. He blames himself for his young friend committing suicide. And this haunts him throughout the whole novel, guides every choice, dictates what he's going to tell the reader, and there's a resolution at the end. I'm not sure it quite worked in the draft you may have looked at, so I'm still working on that. But that's a powerful part of the story, is that coming to terms with guilt, suppressing memories, and then trying to deal with them. So
Yeah, there was a lot going on in the story, and also the allegory with the mythology, Orpheus, right?
yeah, it's
So
called Circus Orpheus, about a
Circus
musician,
Orpheus,
right? Who's
yeah,
not supposed to look back at his old life or his dead sister, his dead friend, or
yeah,
he can't move forward, right? So it's the
right.
Orpheus myth for sure. Yeah, yeah.
And I don't know, I don't want to give anything away, but the
You can give it away, Lord. That's fine.
with Anna, right? It was she was the aerialist, and she's literally coming down on the silks from the big top in the circus, and in the myth, is it Euryclea?
Yeah,
Can you say?
Eurydice. Eurydice
Thank you, thank you.
falls down to
Eurydice,
the
yep,
underworld.
she goes
Yeah.
down to the underworld. So that to me was like a literal parallel of her coming down from the circus top and the silks and going down into the underworld. I just thought that was a beautiful parallel.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for
Yeah,
pointing that out. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So Anna and Finn and this old man who takes him to the circus and his dead sister all share an ability they call the glimmering, which
Right.
is the ability to, among other things, read minds, not easily. It takes a great effort to do it, and to control other forces or try to control them. And that's an allegory also about human connection and also human possibility, because we all have something magic inside us that is trying to come out, and we can't always control it, and it can be difficult to summon that. And so I created this, kind of allegory with this special power. We all want to feel like we have some special ability. So,
I really liked how you kind of connected it to the Nephilim with, the fallen angels. I thought that was really clever to put that together and to, question whether Anna was that.
Yeah. So Anna's wondering how did we get this ability? Very few people have it, and you're right. She has a theory that the blood of the Nephilim, the fallen angels, lives on in a few people, and she's one of them. Yeah. And it's also the allegory of falling in redemption. She has this idea in the final climactic gala show that she's going to show the audience what it means to fall from grace and then rise again. Of course, she doesn't rise again, and that's kind of the tragic end to the book. Not worrying about spoiling it yet because I'm still rewriting portions of it. But yeah.
Yeah, I found that very fascinating, and a lot of the Greek mythology and philosophy. So were you interested in philosophy when you were younger, or did this just kind of...
Yes, I studied classics in college, and before college would read myths and certainly the Bible. I was raised Catholic, so I was exposed to all the parables and stories from the Bible, especially that the priest would trot out on Sunday morning. But especially Greek mythology. I think I took quite a few classes on that in college and graduate school, and yeah, I got really interested in that. Yeah.
It's probably why you like Bob Dylan so much, because he's kind of a philosopher. So.
Oh yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, people even make fun of Bob Dylan these days because he's been inconsistent over the years, but he did win the Nobel Prize. And his lyrics are they're magnificent. I mean, he's the Shakespeare of our time, and I stand by that. I mean, I've not only studied his lyrics, probably like few people on this earth have. And you may say, oh, that's pretty arrogant. You show me somebody else who's memorized 90 Bob Dylan songs, and they are long. They are long songs. The technique to memorize them is painful. You can't just read through them. You can't just sing them. I invented a technique that I developed and actually wrote an article about it, tried to get it published. I didn't try too hard on that. But yeah, it's a pretty painful process, but I've internalized the lyrics too. So I think I understand them really well. I've got all the imagery of the songs in my mind and all the sentiments that I've developed while performing them on stage. So yeah, it's been very enriching. And same way, reading Odyssey or something like that from Greek mythology is, sure. Yeah.
And I've seen the Dylan movie twice now, so.
Oh, you must have really liked it then.
I did. Well, my grandson wanted to watch it with me too, so I went. I saw it first, and then he wanted to watch it. So.
Do you have a favorite part? Was there a moment that really resonated with you?
I liked how he, and this is going to sound a little cold, but I actually liked the way he was in relationship, because he was really just in love with his music and his lyrics, and like you really saw it in the movie that the women in his life were just not really that important, that his music was like so loved by him that I found that kind of curious. That's all.
Yeah, that devotion is very unusual, and it did have, there was collateral all around him with
yes.
He you could say he hurt them, but in another way, he was so true to his vision, and that was his focus, that people just kind of bounced off of that at some points.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very, very good observation, I think, about that movie, and about Dylan.
Thank you.
What's something that you really take away from your studies of Dylan and his music, and in making it your own, actually?
Yeah, that's a good point. We do not try to do an imitation. I don't dress up like Bob Dylan. I wear a polka dot shirt sometimes, but I don't try to copy him, his intonation, anything. I'm channeling the music through me, and I think it sounds pretty authentic. The band certainly does, but nobody wants to see somebody impersonating somebody else. That doesn't get to your part, you know. They want to see the music moving through you, how it vibrates through you, and who you are on stage. So, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Like that.
Great. And how has that changed your life, Scott?
Um, it has helped me deal with my restlessness because the energy you have to devote to something like that, you know, because I still work a full-time office job as well, you know, having to, you know, go out on tour and take days off work and weekends rehearsing. It's kept me from going nuts because all my energy is focused into something that is really challenging, but I love it. I can't imagine not doing it. So it's made me happier and more fulfilled. Um, it's made me better with people because I have to interact with a much wider group of people. You know, every time we go into a club, you know, meeting the stagehand and the owner and all of that, and booking gigs, working with our booking agent, all that stuff. And the band has become like a real family. I mean, I'm not kidding. We've gone on, you know, 10-hour car rides together and just hang out all the time. So we cry on each other's shoulders and really have a great chemistry at this point. I've been together. It's going on 5 years. It'll be going on 5 years. Yeah.
It's beautiful. What a great collaboration you have. And
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
I was glad I could bring some of my musical ideas and things I wanted to say to the world in Circus Orpheus, because there's a lot of, hopefully the regular reader can understand all the guitaristic things I put in there. Like in the early part of the book, Finn is forced by his overbearing and kind of lead-eared band member to play something called a synth-axe, which is this horrible, that it really existed too. It was this horrible looking synthesizer guitar that doesn't even have strings on it. You just kind of tap around on it. And so I made Finn be forced to play this instrument that has no soul that a monkey could play. But I try to describe it in a way that, you know, a guitarist would really appreciate, but hopefully any reader would kind of get the point. So I have moments like that I try to put in throughout the book. Yeah, speaking of guitars in the book, and Orpheus, the theme of Orpheus. Shortly after Finn comes to the circus in the story and meets Anna, the circus master's daughter, who's like me, addicted to being on stage, and that's all she wants is more audience energy. Circus gets injured and has to leave the circus to heal for a while. And Anna schemes with Finn to bring a television crew to film the circus. Fergus doesn't, he's trying to stay in the shadows for some mysterious reason. The day of the television broadcast, Finn goes downtown with a friend and finds an old classical guitar that they suspect is very rare and worth a lot of money. They swindle the pawn shop owner where they find it out of the guitar. And it turns out to be a 1961 Ignacio Fleta guitar, which is incredibly valuable. I mean, they almost don't exist in any playable condition. It turns out that this guitar, when Finn plays it, is able to amplify his glimmering ability and connect with the audience in a way he never could otherwise. So Anna is thrilled. It's like, this is what she wants, to connect with the audience with this magic. But what happens is it creates almost a religious fervor among the audience, and it's all on tapes, you know, it's all recorded. So when Fergus comes back, he's horrified. He's like, you're exposing our ability, our family ability. Then he gets an idea, because his circus it's not Cirque du Soleil, right? It's run down old mud show, gone into, you know, kind of its dog days. But Fergus is revived. He gets out of his depression by bringing Finn on the circus and decides to use Finn's power and this kind of Orpheus-like magic guitar to create a sensation and bring more spotlight on the circus and raise it up out of the mud. And that's how the latter part of the story is headed. Yeah.
Can you talk more about Fergus, the man who contacted Finn and kind of took him under his
Oh
wing?
yeah, I'd
And
love to. Thanks for asking about that, Lori.
yeah,
If
yeah.
I go on too long just rambling, let me know. Ask your questions.
Yeah.
The novel starts with Finn in this bar with this Reggie I talked about, his older, overbearing girlfriend who is really abusing him. And he's not playing very well under these conditions. But one night, this strange old man walks into the bar, dressed in a fancy European suit. He doesn't belong there at all. He's staring at Finn, and Finn feels uneasy. And everyone's making fun of him. Oh, that old man's checking you out. But when Finn plays the guitar that night, and they're playing their version of the Girl from Ipanema, it's not really jazz. It's an easy song for them to play. Finn starts playing his solo, and the old man connects with him. And for the first time, Finn feels this power reawakening in him, this glimmering. And when he's done playing his solo, which is just amazing because of his connection with this old man, Fergus, the college kids who were, being raucous and romping around, they've all stopped and are quiet. The girls are all sitting in their boyfriends' laps, quietly listening. And it's just this amazing experience. So Fergus is a catalyst to wake up in this young man, his latent ability, something he suppressed out of depression, out of his grief over his dead sister and his suicided friend. On the other hand, the old man is an opportunist. He wants to use Finn's power to help him revive his circus. And what Finn doesn't know is the old man has really made a deal with the devil. And his choice is either to have Finn kind of take his place, have Finn, be the one to give his soul over to this nefarious force, or for Fergus's daughter Anna to die, because Fergus made a deal with the devil when Anna was young and would have died to keep her alive, or at least that's what he thinks. I'm trying to make the story as subtle as possible so that the reader could look at it all more as a psychology instead of an actual Lucifer and Dr. Faustus kind of thing. So I try to take it as far as I can to the edge without being really making it into like a fairy tale or something. It's what's called magical realism. I'm sure you've heard that term, where try to keep it as realistic as possible, but with magic just around the edges of reality. Yeah.
I like that. That's great. Well, and the word Orphic, isn't that like trapping or a prison of the soul? So, that kind of goes along with the Orpheus and the whole premise of, and it seemed to me like Finn was trapped in his soul quite a bit.
Absolutely. He was very repressed, trapped, and a lot of it was of his own making, from his guilt. But even as a young kid, before a tragedy happened, he had an older sister who was completely unlike him, who was boisterous, who was unafraid, who was using this power she had without reservation. And Finn was always timid and nervous. So one of the points of the novel is Finn eventually has to overcome that, or he's going to be that way his whole life at a certain point. So yeah, I guess that's the Orphic trapping that he has to free himself from.
As much as it's a fictional book, people can relate. Most of us bring our past with us, and there's a lot of us who feel trapped for whatever reason in life, and go through a journey of finding their magic, right? I think that even as fictional as it is, it's also relatable.
Well, thanks for saying that, Lori. I appreciate it. And that definitely is my intent, not to entertain people with somebody who can do magic tricks, but to have, people connect with the idea that we're all suppressing something. We've all got magic inside of us that we need to summon the bravery to manifest that into reality. And it's a choice. we can choose not to try, or we can choose to build the types of friendships and relationships that will help us bring that out, because you cannot do that on your own. It's impossible. You need strong connections with other people, I think, to manifest the best of you. And you have to keep trying different things. You can never think you're on the right path. You've got to keep reevaluating your options at all times, or you'll be trapped. Yeah.
I like that.
How's that for a Tuesday evening philosophy?
Fantastic.
Right up our alley.
Well, you're bringing it out of me, the three of you, because I know you're all very in tune with a lot of forces yourself, and very intelligent. And, I really just appreciate you hearing me out and having this conversation. It's really great experience.
Right.
Yeah. We love to have these conversations. I just have one question, a follow-up question is like, how does the magic work for you in your life?
Well, that's certainly a good question. Yeah. Certain moments when I'm writing a scene that really comes alive. I mean, really alive, and something that I wasn't expecting, where my intuition, which we all know our intuition is smarter than our conscious mind. Mm-hmm. My intuition comes in a way that creates a solution that it just amazes me. It feels like magic. It's like a magical manifestation. I'm sure you all know what I'm talking about. You have those, but that to me really feels like, wow, I want to keep writing like this, because it's rare. But when I have those kind of opportunities, it's magic. I mean, obviously with family, with my son, with my wife, with my friends, there are certainly magic moments that don't happen every time. They can't. They're too precious for that. Certainly, that's a lot of magic in my life, and of course, musical experiences. That again, I don't know how much you can grasp for them, because if you try too hard for something with too much intention, you're probably not going to get it. You have to be open to forces surprising you, like I said about intuition and writing. So creating opportunities, one way to let the magic in. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, like you were saying, the magic, I think the magic in our lives to even open ourselves to that is to follow our joy. Like you said, I mean, it's been 5 years, and learning all the Dylan songs were really tough, but you love it so much that it's following that joy and that passion that creates the magic in our lives. I think it's really important. I think also, like you got your hands in so many things, I think it's important for people to realize that you don't have to stay in one thing forever. Like your joy, keep following it, keep changing it, keep expanding and doing the things that bring you joy, which brings more magic into your life.
That's so well said, Lori. And it's never too late. You've never missed your opportunity. I mean, there are physical limitations. Come on, none of us are going to be Olympic gymnasts this stage in our lives. But, within the realistic parameters, the limits are the ones that we put on ourselves and the choices we don't make. Easier to say than to do, right? It's easy to sit here on the camera and say that, because it's really challenging to be brave and, make the choices that we think are going to make a difference in our life. They often are going to disappoint other people too. Kim, like you said about Bob Dylan following his true dream, if he had tried to satisfy too many people, even in his close relationships, his art, sounds terrible, but his art probably would have suffered for that. So, yeah.
Well, this, I've really, to me, I like reading books and listening to music that has depth to it, because I think a lot of today's music doesn't necessarily have a lot of depth to it.
I'll agree with that.
I'm trying to be kind here, but I, and I think that's why, bands like Dylan and, a lot of the other ones that we grew up with have held their own because they do have that intelligence behind the music. And I just want to say, I felt your book had that same intelligence of like really going deep.
Yeah.
So it was really interesting to read.
Thanks. The story still needs work. Maybe all agree on that. And that's what I'm working on. But I think the texture of the writing and the ideas, the character development to a point are pretty much working. I'm not going to need another 5 years, maybe another 3 months, because I'm working really hard on getting the story right. I remember seeing, it was Judy Blume or some famous author who'd written the book. It was done, but she was doing the final, like making sure all the character trajectories and everything works. So the Christmas lights came on at the end. And she was in her office. She had this huge billboard and all these diagrams, all these different colored strings with the character arcs and what they did and all that. I'm kind of doing that now, kind of making sure the character arcs all make sense, that they're satisfying for the reader, that all the open questions get answered. I don't think I was as successful as I wanted in the drafts that I gave you. But, that's the way it works. I'm not going to publish this book. And frankly, one of the major publishers won't be interested in it until I, address those things. And, fortunately, I have a good, like I said, agent that I trust who's giving me guidance and who's very frank about what's going to work and what's not going to work. So
that's great.
Must be such an interesting process anyway, just to, go through that process of getting published and finding all the different things that you need to do. It's probably a big learning curve and very satisfying for your creativity.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to the part we get talking about the cover, because from the time I started writing this book, this person here, I said, you're going to help me design the cover of Circus Orpheus. So we've been talking about ideas for years. I don't know how much control the publisher is going to give us on that, but we're going to try. And if I'm successful, I would really like to try to pursue some international, some translated versions. I'd probably have more control over those. After graduate school, I was kind of like Finn in the story. I was depressed. I didn't know who I was, and I wanted to do something radical. So I went to the library and I took out as many books on different Slavic languages that they had on the shelf, and I laid them all out. And I just kind of used my intuition. I picked Czechoslovakia. And so I arranged to go teach English in Czechoslovakia, thinking I was only going to stay there for 6 months on a teacher program. I ended up staying almost 5 years in Slovakia. The country split in two like a month after I arrived. So I really became a different person. I totally went native. I learned the language fluently. I fell in love and got married over there. My son and wife are over there now. So that's, I guess, another thing that's really influenced my view of the world, is kind of feeling like I became a totally different person for 5 years. I was not an American after, a year and a half. I was only reading and consuming things in Slovak unless they had to do with teaching material. So that was pretty interesting.
That's fascinating. Yeah. And you and Caroline are also writing another book together, I understand, right?
Yeah, she and I talk about like manifesting new things in our lives, because we've helped each other with that. Laura, you came out to the gallery showing last year at it was a pretty big fancy gallery, and it was pretty much of a long shot that we would be able to pull off getting Caroline's art accepted for a formal art exhibit. But the curator of the museum came to one of my Bob Dylan shows, not knowing me or Caroline. And the place was so packed there wasn't a seat for him. But by chance, I was talking with this guy, and he had a manuscript of artwork that he'd done. And I said, I have a friend who's an artist. And I pulled out my phone and started flicking through pictures. And he's like, that is really unusual and really good. Have her get in touch with me. So we had a call with this curator, me, Caroline, and Joe on Zoom. And a year later, she had this gallery showing. So that's an
Yeah.
example of manifesting. I forgot why we were talking about that. Can you remind me?
Oh, I was just, yeah, I remember that story. That's you were influential in her gallery show, and she appreciates that. But
Oh, you were
you
talking
were
about the book we were
the
writing together.
book, yeah.
Yeah, well, the book's about like how it came about that we were able to work together. We didn't start off well in French lessons at all. She was driving me crazy. She'd have me read Chekhov and then try to explain what happened in the passage. I couldn't do it. I would get angry. But we had this breakthrough moment, and it had to do with art. There was a Chagall, beautiful Chagall artwork. It's one with a goat on it. And you know how Caroline is. She's asking me, what do I see? How do I feel? And suddenly we just had this amazing connection through this artwork. And we became good friends after that and started thinking about our lives and helping each other and egging each other on. And so we're writing a book about that experience. Yeah. So we meet on Zoom, and we're writing it kind of as a dialogue now. How we got to certain highs and lows and that kind of thing. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you for all the contributions you're making to all of us. This is beautiful.
Well, I'm sorry I monopolized so much of this conversation. I'm sure you have equally interesting perspectives on life, and I know you have shared a lot of those. But I think the four of us are a great group. I feel really good energy here, and really great to be on this podcast with you.
We appreciate it, and we look very forward to reading both books and hopefully getting to see you playing live one day.
That's a deal. All right. Yeah, I'll have to get in touch with John Davidson again to come up to Club Sandwich. Yeah.
Great. That's great. Well, do you have anything else you would like to add to this, or anybody else, before we close on this?
The only website or promotion I have to give out is thebobband.com. Yeah, I don't have any other like closing promotions or anything to give out.
How about advice? Do you have any advice to give to people who want to pursue several different things at once? And
yeah,
because I love that you do that.
I think that maybe is the main point of this conversation, is that the four of us are kind of encouraging ourselves and all the listeners to be open, be proactive, know that you have a choice, and do some soul searching, do some meditating, find out what's going to make you happier. Not only happier, but Laura, you said it, bring joy, right? That's going to be the guide star, not pleasure, not even happiness, but joy, which is rare and the most precious commodity. So use that as the guide star. Know that it's going to take you being brave, maybe even uncomfortable, maybe even suffering a little bit and letting yourself do that. But anything is worth it for real, true joy on this earth. There's no better aspiration, I think. And that will keep you honest, the pursuit of joy. That will keep you respectful of other people. And so maybe that's advice we can share with people watching this.
Very well said. Very well
Love
said.
that.
And when you do publish those books, we are happy to promote them, and we'll put the links out for you so that people can easily find your books.
Well, that's good motivation. Yeah, we'll be hard on finishing them up. Absolutely.
Well, we just want to thank you again for sharing your story and being on our podcast.
Great honor. Had a wonderful time with you. And yeah, wish you all the best with this podcast. I think it's great format.
Well, thank you. And if you've enjoyed this episode as much as we have, please like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, how is your intuition leading you to the next perfect step?